So I have a friend who works at an anime con, and one of the things he does is he's a judge for an AMV contest. Basically, he watches a bunch of different submitted AMVs, and based on how he and a few other judges judge them, the AMVs can win awards or whatnot. And he's been doing this for a while, so he's probably seen like hundreds of AMVs, maybe even thousands. I don't know. He's kind of a weeb, so I wouldn't doubt it. But one day, he told me that there was an AMV that stood out to him, even amongst all the other AMVs he's watched, and he's watched a lot. So an AMV standing out isn't something that happens often. He shared this AMV with me, and this AMV is called Run Makoto Run, or Stop the Rock. I didn't really know what to expect going into it, and he didn't really tell me anything about it either, so I wasn't actually expecting much. But when I finished watching that AMV, I was impressed, to say the least. It was very well edited. Legit, one of the best AMVs I have ever watched. Like my friend, I have also watched a lot of AMVs over the years, so I'd consider that pretty high praise. After watching it, it was so good that I watched the entire 6-minute AMV again. And again. And again. The song and the animation was just stuck in my head. I could not stop thinking about it. So literally even a week after watching it for the first time, I was still rewatching the video almost every day. And not only that, but every time I rewatch it, it somehow just gets even better for some reason. I don't know how, it just does. Now, this is a pretty weird analysis video for me to make. I don't think I've seen anyone make a video talking about another person's AMV. I usually don't do videos like this. I mostly do gaming and shitpost videos. But this video idea was suggested to me by the very friend who suggested the AMV to me. And I consider him a pretty good guy, so I thought, you know what? If he suggested it, sure, I'll do it. And the AMV is very good. I don't think I'll be able to do it justice with my analysis or whatever, but I'll try my best to talk about it. And if you haven't already, please do go watch the original AMV video. I'll link it in my video description. It's very well made and actually insanely underrated. It only has like 50,000 views, when honestly it should have like a few million, honestly. It's really good. I obviously won't be showing the entire 6-minute AMV in this video, but throughout this video, I will be showing clips and parts of the AMV as I talk to, like, I don't know, like, give visual feedback to what I'm saying. So technically, this is an analysis video, but I'm not smart enough to do that. I'm mostly just gonna be casually talking about the AMV and talking about some thoughts I had. I suppose, before I start talking about the actual AMV itself, I should mention what the AMV is based on, because the entire AMV, literally all 6 minutes of it, revolves around a single anime clip. That clip is literally just an anime girl running. The anime it's from is called Toki wo Kakeru Shoujo, and I might have pronounced that wrong, but the English name is The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. And the girl's name is Makoto. According to the guy who made the AMV, he said in a comment that if you think that I am crazy, you should know that the original running scene lasts for almost a minute and contains no cycles or repeated frames. I thought that this was a little bit of a fun fact, you know? Like, the animators decided to animate a whole minute of animation of nothing but running, and they drew every frame manually without any repeats. I am not an animator, but that sounds pretty time-consuming. And this anime apparently came out in 2006 as well, so pretty impressive stuff, and it's a fun fact. So basically, the entire AMV is based on this one single clip. That's it. Now, if you've seen the AMV, you'll know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, then you might be wondering, or you might be thinking, how can you make a whole-ass AMV on a single anime scene and stretch it out to be 6 minutes, and somehow make it good? I have two answers to that. First, go watch the fucking AMV. That should answer your question. And secondly, the AMV absolutely transforms that scene with literal editing magic. Literally magic. The editing and animation and production quality in that AMV is actually some of the best I've ever seen. Like, the AMV starts off pretty decent. When I first saw the first minute of the AMV, I was like, cool, this editing is pretty good. That's impressive. But then as you keep watching, you realize it just gets better and better the more you get into the video. Like, especially towards the end. Like, the ending of the AMV is absolutely just, it goes nuts. Like, I can't confirm or anything, but I feel like his editing skills improved as he worked on the AMV. Because, like, the ending of the AMV, like, the final minute just goes wild. It does not hold back at all. It's like as if he's showing off his editing skills at that point. As someone who's done a little bit of editing myself, a little bit of editing and animation, I've edited some like manga panels and used After Effects before. I know how time consuming and how difficult it can be to even make something simple. So trust me when I say what this guy did is incredibly impressive. Like, honestly, you probably don't even need me to tell you that. You could probably already tell that's impressive if you've watched the AMV. He started working on this in 2019 and released in 2023. So this project took him around roughly 4 years to make, and that's a pretty long amount of time, especially for just a mere 6-minute AMV. And honestly, I completely understand why. Like, the AMV has so many different styles and types of editing. Making something like this would require so many different technical skills. Editing is just one of them. It has like animation, art and drawing, 3D modeling and 3D animation, special effects and lighting, and a buttload of drug abuse, probably. And even ignoring the actual editing and visual stuff, making something like this would require a lot of planning and like thinking, you know? The AMV itself flows very smoothly. All the scenes transition between each other very nicely. Like the sequence starting at 4 minutes and 5 seconds into the AMV, the dude's face opens up and shoots out a missile. And then from the missile comes out a tank. And then from the tank, it shoots out the bullet. And then the bullet zooms around, shooting through different scenes. It's not just a bunch of well-edited clips tied together. The guy clearly planned it out. And the AMV moves between these parts perfectly. Another one of my favorite parts in the AMV is the meteor moon thing, falling from the sky, and then it transitions to a different POV, and the meteor crashes into the earth and destroys everything. And then once everything gets destroyed, it moves to another scene. That's a smooth-ass transition. I've said this before, but I've tried making something like this. And the hard part is actually just making it look good and like transition smoothly between the different like edited scenes. That's why I'm very, very impressed by something of this quality on a technical level. And he also actually made a separate video where he kind of went over a couple of the scenes in the AMV and the process of how it's made. He breaks down some of the scenes. You can actually see each individual separate layers before each effect and edit is done. He makes it look so simple and easy, but every scene, even the ones that seem simple, require a lot of work, manually cutting out and combining layers and animating and keyframing. I do recommend checking that video out as well, because it's really cool to see the AMV scenes being separated into like a million different layers, and seeing the behind the scenes of how he sets up the editing and animation. It's really cool stuff. And so far, I've really only mostly talked about how good the editing and animation is, but the editing isn't the only good part of it. Yes, the editing and animation is a huge part of why the AMV is amazing, probably the main reason, but the AMV itself is also extremely creative and has a ton of cool scenes. Like, it's not just 6 minutes straight of a character running through a screen with a few edits here and there. There's a lot more to it. It's a well-crafted piece of art. So at its core, it has a main concept and theme, which is running, as you can obviously tell. It starts off with Makoto running, and that persists throughout the entire AMV. Every scene is tied to this main theme. But a bit in, it kind of stopped becoming running. Like, I don't know how to really describe this, but like for the first 2 minutes or so, it's just different edits and variations of the original running animations. Like, it's Makoto running, but she's running through a different universe now, and she has a different like costume, and she looks different, and yada yada. But after that though, the very form of Makoto starts to slowly change. She becomes a flying tooth monster. She doesn't even have feet anymore, and she's flying, and she's consuming things. And then she becomes a giant singular foot, jumping up and down. And there's even one point where she literally becomes a sperm cell. And for me, where the AMV starts to really pick up is at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, where they zoom into her brain, and we see her blood cells start running. And then it zooms in even further, and we can see her cells and particles itself. Like, this is just cool as shit to watch. It starts from an ordinary girl running, and suddenly we can see every cell in her body running with her face on it. And if we fast forward even further into the video, it gets even crazier with how it zooms out, and Makoto becomes multiversal level, and somehow starts running through space and starts breaking dimensions. Like, the first major turning point in the AMV was what I mentioned earlier, where we zoomed into Makoto, getting smaller and smaller, going into like the minusculic levels, like her blood cells and molecules. But the second turning point is the opposite, where we zoom out, and we zoom out into space. We can see planets and like black holes and massive universes and galaxies and different dimensions. If this were to be power scaled, she would probably be infinite layers into Outversal. It could probably easily solo fiction. P.S. I am not a power scaler. I just used random power scaler buzzwords I've heard. I do not know what any of those words mean. But while we're on the topic of power scaling, though, here's a fun little fact I wanted to mention. At 4 minutes and 58 seconds, there's a tiny little TV screen showing Makoto running through the Dragon Ball Z universe as a Super Saiyan. Therefore, based on this scene alone, we can conclude that this AMV can indeed defeat Goku. Now, aside from just the Super Saiyan running animation, there's a lot going on in this scene. This scene only lasts for like 2 seconds, but it's packed with a ton of different references. There's a ton of different TV screens, each with a different Makoto running animation. There's the Dragon Ball one I just mentioned, there's a Jurassic Park one, a Mario one over there, and there's a lot of other ones I don't recognize. I don't know all these references. And these different animations literally only appear for like a split second before they disappear, and they don't show up for the entire rest of the AMV. The dude put so much effort into making these tiny individual screens that most people won't even notice. Like, if you've only watched the AMV once, I'd say there's a very good chance you didn't even notice that there was a Dragon Ball Z reference in there. This AMV has a lot of, like, obvious references. Like, there's the Doom reference, the Chainsaw Man reference, and there's a SpongeBob reference. But there are also a lot of, like, slightly hidden references. And so many little details that even now, after watching it over 50 times, there are probably still a ton of details and references that I missed, just because of the sheer amount of stuff that happens and how quickly it passes. And you know what I never noticed for like the first dozen times I watched the AMV? And you might not have noticed it either, but the AMV straight up has hentai in it. At 4 minutes and 36 seconds, for a very quick moment, it shows various different hentai panels and has a girl straight up spreading her ass cheeks and getting railed. I honestly didn't even notice this until someone pointed it out to me because of how fast and naturally this goes by. And if anyone has a sauce to this, do comment it down below because my pasta is very dry right now. It kind of needs the sauce. And if you couldn't tell already, this AMV is seriously impressive. It's actually a work of art. Honestly, this is less of an AMV and more of an experimental art project. Like, the main focus is the crazy editing and the fun animations and the cool references, and less the actual anime itself. So technically, it is an AMV in essence. I wouldn't really consider it one, though. At least not a typical one. But hey, if they say it's an AMV, it's an AMV. I won't doubt it, or I won't even try to debunk it. I mean, it literally has won AMV awards before, so yeah, it's definitely considered an AMV. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, my friend is a judge for an AMV event, and he actually judged this AMV. So according to my friend, he said that this AMV was submitted as a comedy AMV, and he said that while it did win an award, it didn't win in the comedy category for the contest he was judging. Which does kind of make sense. The editing in the AMV was insanely good, but it wasn't amazing because of its comedy. I was mostly in awe while watching, and not really bursting out laughing. But still, it did win the award according to my friend, so that's good. Oh, and also, it also won many, many other awards as well. If you check the video's description, the dude posted a list of all the awards he won, and he won over 20 awards, which is fucking insane. 20 awards is a lot, you know? And you know what? He deserves every award, you know? 4 years making this masterpiece, if that ain't award worthy, I don't know what is. I'm just surprised I've never heard anyone talking about this AMV before. Which, I guess, is also why I made this video, despite not being my usual type of content. I don't make a lot of, analysis, script-based videos. I used to make a few. But I realized I'm shit at it, because I'm awful at writing scripts, and don't know how to analyze things or speak properly. Like, I have a bunch of topics and ideas I want to talk about, but, like, I don't know how to transition between them, so it's very awkward when I randomly switch between topics. So if any part of this video sounds weird to you, it's probably because of that. But I did have fun. I had a lot of fun making this video. I rewatched the AMV like a dozen more times in the process of writing this script. So that was fun. I also want to shout out my friend for introducing this AMV to me and for suggesting that I make this video. He also helped me a bit with coming up with what to say in this video as well. He's a very cool guy. And obviously, shout out to the actual dude who made the AMV himself. Absolute legend. Amazing work he's done. I tried to talk about his AMV as best I could without fucking anything up. And yeah, that's the end of the video. I don't really have anything else I want to say. I'm pretty sure I said everything I wanted to say, I think. As usual, I have no idea how to do an outro, so instead I'll just, I'll just run off the screen like Makoto does, I'll just, run off the screen. Cause I can't stop the rock. Can't stop the rock. Can't stop the rock. You can't stop the rock. Can't stop the rock, you can't stop the rock. Can't stop the rock, you can't stop the rock. Can't stop the rock, you can't stop the rock. You can't stop the rock, you can't stop the rock. You can't stop the rock, you can't stop the rock. Can't stop the rock, you can't stop the rock. You can't stop the rock, you can't stop